The icy winds of Ilum howled through the deep caverns as young Anakin Skywalker, now a Padawan under Obi-Wan Kenobi, stepped cautiously into the sacred crystal cave. His breath turned to mist in the freezing air, and his boots crunched against the frost-covered stone. Around him, the glowing pulses of countless Kyber crystals shimmered within the jagged walls, each calling out to the young Jedi who sought them. Anakin had heard the stories. Every Jedi youngling was meant to find the one crystal meant for them, the heart of their first lightsaber. Most crystals glowed blue or green, the colors of Jedi tradition. Some rare few, like Mace Windu's, pulsed with violet. But as Anakin reached out with the Force, seeking the pull of his destined Kyber, something different called to him. A deep hum vibrated through his bones. Powerful, ancient, unlike anything he had ever felt. The Force itself seemed to whisper his name. His pulse quickened. He followed the call deeper into the cavern, beyond where the other younglings had gone. Even Obi-Wan, watching from a distance, sensed something strange. Then, at the heart of a narrow crevice hidden beneath layers of ice, he saw it. A crystal unlike any other. It shone with pure, radiant gold, its light flickering like a miniature sun trapped in stone. Anakin felt his fingers tremble as he reached for it. The moment his skin touched the golden crystal, a wave of energy surged through his body, warm, powerful, unlike anything he had known. It was as if the Force itself had chosen him. And then he saw the vision. The world around him blurred, the cave melting away into something else. A battlefield. He stood at the center of a vast war, flames and lightning crackling in the sky. Jedi and Sith clashed in violent fury, but he was neither. He stood alone. In his hand a golden blade burned with a power that dwarfed the others. He saw Obi-Wan, his face stricken with pain. He saw Palpatine watching from the shadows. And he saw Padme, tears in her eyes, whispering his name. Then darkness swallowed the vision. Anakin gasped, snapping back to reality, clutching the golden Kyber to his chest. His heart pounded. "What was that?" he muttered. He turned, finding Obi-Wan now standing behind him, his eyes filled with concern. The other younglings had retrieved their crystals, but none had reacted like this. "Anakin," Obi-Wan said cautiously, his gaze flicking to the golden crystal in Anakin's palm. "I have never seen a Kyber crystal like that before." Neither had the Jedi Order. When they returned to Coruscant, the discovery of Anakin's golden Kyber sent ripples through the Jedi Temple. The Masters gathered in silence, studying the radiant crystal as it hovered within a meditation chamber. Yoda's ears twitched in thought. Mace Windu's face was unreadable. Even Master Ki-Adi-Mundi, always calm, seemed unsettled. "This is not a natural color," Windu finally said. "Blue, green, violet, even rare white and yellow crystals have been documented, but never this." "The Force has chosen it," Obi-Wan defended. "Anakin did not seek this out. It called to him." "The Force, mysterious it remains," Yoda murmured, his gaze locked on the golden glow. "Balance or chaos, unclear it is. Some masters saw it as a sign of great destiny. Anakin truly was the chosen one, meant to transcend the Jedi and Sith. Others feared it was an omen of instability, that Anakin's presence in the Force was an unknown variable too dangerous to control. The only thing they agreed on was this: Anakin Skywalker's future had changed forever. Anakin Skywalker sat cross-legged in his quarters, the golden Kyber crystal resting in his palm. The energy radiating from it pulsed in sync with his heartbeat. It was warm, alive, almost as if the Force itself was whispering to him. He had never built a lightsaber before, but he knew the process well. The Jedi taught that crafting a lightsaber was a deeply personal experience, requiring patience, precision, and attunement to the Force. Yet, as he reached for the components before him, he hesitated. Something about this crystal felt different. As he closed his eyes and let the Force guide his hands, the pieces of the hilt levitated around him. Metal fused together, wires coiled into place, and circuits aligned with near-perfect harmony. The Kyber crystal settled into its chamber, and for a moment all was silent. Then, snap! Hiss! A blade of pure gold ignited, bathing the room in a warm, brilliant glow. The air hummed with its energy, and Anakin felt something shift inside him. This was power, but it wasn't overwhelming like he had feared. It was stable, balanced, but the moment of clarity didn't last. A sharp knock at the door made him flinch. "Skywalker," came Obi-Wan's voice. "The Council has summoned you." Anakin stood in the center of the Jedi High Council chamber, his golden lightsaber in hand. The Masters studied the glowing blade with unreadable expressions, their faces reflecting the golden hue. "It is unlike anything we have seen," Ki Adi-Mundi admitted. "Even the rarest Kyber crystals do not radiate this way." "The color is not of the Jedi," Mace Windu said bluntly. His violet blade was the only known exception among the Order, yet even it did not carry this golden, celestial glow. "Nor of the Sith. It is something else entirely." Anakin frowned. "So what does that mean?" "Strong, your connection to the Force is," Yoda said, tapping his cane. "But too much it may be." "Too much?" Anakin scoffed. "Isn't that a good thing?" "The Force is balance," Mace Windu said, folding his arms. "When an individual is too powerful, the balance shifts. Your crystal may be a reflection of that imbalance." Anakin clenched his fists. "So you think this is a bad thing?" "We do not know," Obi-Wan interjected, trying to ease the tension. "That is why we must proceed carefully." Mace Windu exhaled. "For now, you will keep the lightsaber, but you must not let this make you reckless, Skywalker. Power alone does not make one a Jedi." Anakin gave a slow nod, but inside, frustration simmered. They didn't trust him, even after all he had done. After all he had sacrificed, they still treated him like a danger rather than a protector. But they weren't the only ones watching. Deep in the dark chambers of Coruscant's underbelly, Chancellor Palpatine sat, alone, his fingers steepled as he listened to the whispers of the Force. The boy had received a golden Kyber crystal, a rare phenomenon, perhaps even a sign of true Force mastery. This was unexpected. Even he, Darth Sidious, had never encountered such a thing. He needed to act carefully. If Anakin was more powerful than expected, he could be an even greater Sith than Sidious had imagined. But if the golden crystal meant that Anakin could resist the pull of the dark side, that was dangerous. Sidious smirked. "It seems the Chosen One is becoming more than I anticipated." He would have to accelerate his plans. Anakin Skywalker's golden lightsaber hummed in the training chamber, its glow reflecting off the metallic walls. Across from him, Obi-Wan Kenobi circled with measured patience, his blue blade steady in his hand. "Again," Obi-Wan instructed. Anakin lunged forward, striking with precision. Their blades clashed, sending sparks flying. Obi-Wan countered each of Anakin's aggressive attacks, maintaining his usual defensive stance. Yet something was different. Anakin's movements were sharper, faster. His golden blade burned brighter with each strike, as though it fed off his energy. Obi-Wan barely dodged the next blow. "Anakin," he warned, stepping back. "Your movements, they're stronger than before." "I feel stronger," Anakin said, breathing heavily. "It's like the crystal is amplifying my connection to the Force." "That might not be a good thing," Obi-Wan cautioned. Anakin frowned. "Why? Because I'm not supposed to be this powerful?" Obi-Wan deactivated his lightsaber. "Because power without control is dangerous. The Jedi rely on discipline, not raw strength." Anakin exhaled sharply and shut off his golden blade. "I'm not reckless." Obi-Wan studied him, then sighed. I know, Anakin, but something about that crystal, it's not just unique, it's reacting to you in ways we don't understand. Anakin didn't reply, but deep inside, he knew Obi-Wan was right. The crystal was alive in a way no other Kyber was. It whispered to him, showed him things, visions, possibilities, futures, and not all of them were good. That night, as Anakin meditated in his quarters, he felt himself pulled into a vision once more. He stood on a world of fire, Mustafar. A duel raged before him, but the details were blurred. He saw his own golden blade clashing against blue Obi-Wan. The two fought fiercely, but the vision flickered. His emotions distorted the outcome. Then he saw Padme lying on the ground, her face pale, her breath shallow. No! Anakin tried to reach for her, but the vision began to crumble. The Force whispered, "You will have to choose." Then darkness consumed him, and he awoke in a cold sweat. Anakin needed answers, and he knew who might have them. The next day, he found himself in Chancellor Palpatine's office, the grand chambers towering above the Senate district. The Chancellor sat in his chair, a knowing smile on his face as he regarded Anakin. "My boy," Palpatine greeted warmly, "to what do I owe the pleasure?" Anakin hesitated before speaking. "I had a vision." Palpatine leaned forward. "Oh, do tell." Anakin recounted the fire, the duel, the golden blade clashing against blue. The choice. Palpatine listened intently, nodding as though he understood more than he let on. "Ah, the Force grants you many gifts, my friend, but visions can be deceiving." Anakin clenched his fists. "The Jedi don't want to talk about it. They don't trust me." Palpatine sighed, standing from his chair. "The Jedi fear what they do not understand, Anakin. And you, my friend, are something they do not understand." Anakin looked down at his hands. "Then what do I do?" Palpatine placed a gentle hand on Anakin's shoulder. "You must seek true wisdom. The Jedi limit your power. But there are ways to see beyond their restrictions, ways the Jedi refuse to acknowledge." Anakin looked up at him. "What ways?" Palpatine's smile was almost imperceptible. "There are ancient teachings, Anakin, lost knowledge that only a few truly understand. If you wish, I can help you uncover them." Anakin hesitated. A small voice inside him, perhaps Obi-Wan's, perhaps his own conscience, warned him to be careful. But another voice whispered louder, "You will have to choose." And so Anakin nodded. "I want to learn." Palpatine's eyes gleamed. "Good." Anakin sat in his quarters, staring at his golden lightsaber resting on the table before him. Its glow had faded, but he could still feel its presence pulsing through the Force. His conversation with the Chancellor lingered in his mind. Lost knowledge, ancient teachings. The Jedi would never allow him to explore such things, but what if Palpatine was right? What if the Jedi were keeping him from his true potential? He gritted his teeth and closed his eyes, reaching out with the Force, searching for the whispers that had guided him before. The golden crystal pulsed in response. His mind was flooded with images, visions of worlds he had never seen, ancient figures draped in robes of gold and black, wielding weapons that shone like stars. He heard their voices, distant yet commanding. They spoke of power, of understanding the Force in ways beyond the Jedi and Sith. Then the vision shifted. Darkness, flames, Obi-Wan standing before him, his blue lightsaber drawn, Padme crying, Palpatine's voice in the shadows. Anakin gasped, snapping back to reality, his breath coming fast. His hands trembled as he picked up his lightsaber, staring at the golden blade as it ignited. He felt something growing inside him, something he couldn't name. A knock at the door pulled him from his thoughts. "Come in," he called. Obi-Wan entered, his expression unreadable. He glanced at the still-ignited blade before meeting Anakin's eyes. "The Council wants to see you," Obi-Wan said. "They're concerned." Anakin deactivated the blade and set it down. "About what? Your visions, your power, your attachment to the Chancellor." Anakin clenched his jaw. "They don't trust me." Obi-Wan sighed. "They don't understand you. That's different." "Is it?" Anakin stood up, his frustration barely contained. "Every time I get stronger, they act like it's a problem. I have visions, and they tell me to ignore them. I find a crystal that no Jedi has ever seen before, and they look at me like I'm dangerous. And now, just because I talk to the Chancellor, they think I'm a threat." Obi-Wan studied him for a moment. "The Council fears where this path might lead." Anakin scoffed. "I know exactly where this leads, Obi-Wan. It leads to me, saving the people I love. And if the Jedi won't help me do that, maybe I don't need them." Obi-Wan's expression darkened. "Be careful, Anakin. You're treading a dangerous line." Anakin didn't answer. That night, when the temple was quiet, he left. He moved through the streets of Coruscant with purpose, his golden lightsaber hidden beneath his robes. The coordinates Palpatine had given him led to an ancient building in the underbelly of the city, forgotten by time. The moment he stepped inside, he felt it, an overwhelming presence in the Force, neither light nor dark. It was something older, something deeper. Torches ignited along the walls as he moved forward. Symbols, ancient and unreadable, lined the stone pillars. At the center of the chamber stood Palpatine, his hands folded behind his back, his face illuminated by the flickering firelight. "You came," Palpatine said, smiling. "I need to know the truth," Anakin said. Palpatine gestured to the symbols around them. "This place holds knowledge that the Jedi would never allow you to see. They have hidden the past from you, Anakin, but I can show you everything." Anakin hesitated for only a moment before stepping forward. "Then show me." Palpatine's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "Good." The air inside the ancient chamber was thick with the weight of forgotten power. Anakin followed Palpatine deeper into the ruin, his senses overwhelmed by the whispers of the past. The golden Kyber crystal inside his lightsaber pulsed, as if responding to something unseen. "Do you feel it, my boy?" Palpatine asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "The echoes of knowledge long buried by the Jedi." Anakin nodded. "What is this place?" Palpatine gestured to the towering pillars. "Surrounding them, this temple predates the Republic, built by those who understood the Force in its truest form, not as light or dark, but as a force of nature, untamed, raw, limitless." Anakin traced his fingers over the symbols carved into the stone. They were neither Jedi nor Sith. They spoke of something older, something beyond the petty conflicts that had divided the galaxy for millennia. "And the golden Kyber?" Anakin asked. "What does it mean?" Palpatine turned, his eyes gleaming in the dim torchlight. "A rare phenomenon, even among the ancients. The golden Kyber is not bound by the teachings of Jedi or Sith. It represents something more, true balance." Anakin frowned. "Balance? The Jedi say that's what I was meant to bring." Palpatine chuckled. "And yet they fear you. They fear your strength because they know balance does not mean obedience to their narrow code. It means transcendence. It means breaking free from their limitations." Anakin looked down at his hands. "Then why does my crystal feel incomplete? It's powerful, but I can sense that there's something missing." Palpatine's smile widened. "Because, my young apprentice, you have yet to unlock its full potential. The Jedi only teach you to use half of your power. But if you embrace the knowledge I offer, you will become something greater than any Jedi or Sith before you." Anakin hesitated. A part of him, the part that still heard Obi-Wan's voice in the back of his mind, told him to turn back. But the Other part, the part that had seen visions of Padme dying, the part that feared the Jedi would let him fail, that part wanted more. "What must I do?" he asked. Palpatine extended his hand. "Trust in the Force. Let go of your fear and follow me." Anakin took a deep breath, then stepped forward. Palpatine led him to the heart of the temple, where a massive stone tablet stood, engraved with an ancient script. With a flick of his wrist, Palpatine called forth a glowing red holocron from the shadows. It hovered in the air before them, pulsing with a deep, menacing energy. "This holocron contains the knowledge of Darth Rylos, a scholar of the Force who rejected both Jedi and Sith dogma," Palpatine explained. "Within it lies the secret to unlocking the full power of your golden Kyber." Anakin reached out, feeling the energy radiating from the holocron. It wasn't like the dark side he had sensed before. It wasn't hatred or anger. It was power, pure and unfiltered. "All you must do," Palpatine continued, "is open it." Anakin hesitated for only a moment before placing his hands on the holocron. The moment he did, a surge of energy coursed through his veins. His golden Kyber crystal flared to life, glowing brighter than ever before. Visions flooded his mind, galaxies collapsing, armies kneeling before him, Padme standing by his side, unafraid. The Force whispered again, "You will have to choose." Anakin gritted his teeth and pushed harder. The holocron began to crack open, spilling its secrets into his mind. And at that moment, Anakin Skywalker took his first true step away. From the Jedi, Anakin staggered as the holocron's energy surged through him. The temple around him flickered, his mind trapped between reality and something else, something vast and ancient. The golden Kyber crystal inside his lightsaber pulsed in response, its glow intensifying. He could feel the power expanding within him, threading through his veins like liquid fire. Palpatine watched, his expression unreadable, though his eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "You see it now, don't you?" the Chancellor said. "The Force is more than what the Jedi have taught you. It is not light, it is not dark, it is will." Anakin clenched his fists as the visions poured into his mind. He saw battles where Jedi and Sith alike were nothing but dust beneath his feet. He saw civilizations rise and fall with the flick of his wrist, and then he saw Padme standing in a sunlit meadow, untouched by death, alive and smiling. It was possible. He could shape fate itself. The holocron's glow finally dimmed, leaving Anakin breathless. His golden Kyber crystal, once a steady warmth in the Force, now burned hotter, almost volatile. He looked up at Palpatine. What was that?" "A glimpse into what you can become," Palpatine said, stepping closer. "The Jedi suppress knowledge like this because they fear it. They claim to serve balance, but in truth, they only serve their version of it." Anakin's breathing slowed as he processed the Chancellor's words. The Jedi had always spoken of balance, of control, but they never truly explained what that meant. They had told him to suppress his fears, his attachments, his love for Padme. But here, in this temple, he could feel the truth. Power wasn't about choosing light or dark, it was about wielding both. Palpatine placed a hand on Anakin's shoulder. "You are beyond them now, my boy. They will never understand your potential, but I do." Anakin exhaled, his mind torn between his duty and the raw certainty coursing through him. For the first time, he felt like he could rewrite destiny, and yet a part of him still hesitated. "What do I do now?" he asked. Palpatine smiled. "The Jedi will sense this shift in you. They will come, and when they do, you must be ready to choose." The words echoed in Anakin's mind. "You will have to choose." Back at the Jedi Temple, Obi-Wan sat in meditation, his mind troubled. The Force was restless. A shift was happening, one that felt dangerously close to something they had all feared for years. He opened his eyes and looked toward the skyline of Coruscant. "Anakin," he whispered. Something was coming, and the Jedi weren't ready for it. The Jedi Council chamber was silent, the weight of unspoken words pressing down like a storm waiting to break. Anakin stood at the center, his golden lightsaber clipped to his belt, radiating an energy that none in the room could ignore. The masters sat in their high-backed seats, watching him with cautious, measured gazes. Mace Windu was the first to speak. "You have been keeping secrets, Skywalker." Anakin folded his arms. "If you already assume I'm guilty, then why ask me here?" Yoda's ears twitched, his eyes narrowing as he studied the young Jedi. "A great shift in the Force, we feel. Darkness, yet not the darkness we know. You at the center you are." Anakin's jaw tightened. He could feel them probing, their collective will pressing against his mind, searching for something they had no right to see. He pushed back, reinforcing the barriers in his thoughts, unwilling to let them see how far he had gone. "I've had visions," Anakin admitted, his voice controlled but firm. "Visions the Jedi refused to acknowledge. I sought knowledge that might help me save the people I love." Mace Windu's expression hardened. "The Force does not exist to serve your personal desires. The Jedi Code forbids attachment for a reason." Anakin's anger flared. "And what has that code given you, Master Windu? A dying republic? A war that never ends? The Sith operate in the shadows, while the Jedi do nothing but follow protocol." Obi-Wan, standing to the side, finally stepped forward. "Anakin, listen to yourself. You sound like..." "Like what?" Anakin snapped, turning to face him. "Like someone who isn't afraid to see the truth. You all fear my power, but it's because you refuse to evolve. The Jedi have spent centuries running from the full power of the Force. What if the Force doesn't want us to be limited?" Ki-Adi-Mundi leaned forward. "And who has been filling your head with these ideas, Skywalker?" Anakin hesitated, but it was too late. Mace Windu's eyes narrowed. "The Chancellor." Obi-Wan looked at Anakin, his voice lower now, almost pleading. "Tell me this isn't true, Anakin." Anakin's fingers twitched at his sides. They already knew. It didn't matter what he said now. "The Jedi don't trust me," Anakin said bitterly. "They never have. But Chancellor Palpatine has guided me, given me wisdom beyond anything the Order allows." Mace Windu stood, his voice filled with finality. "Then you are lost." Anakin's breath caught in his throat. Yoda sighed deeply. "Clouded, your future has become. Dangerous, this path is." "You have a choice, Anakin," Obi-Wan said. "But if you continue down this road, there may be no turning back." Anakin clenched his fists. He thought of the visions, of the holocron's secrets, of the feeling of true power flowing through him. He thought of Padme, her future balanced, on the edge of a blade. "You're the ones who refuse to see," he muttered. And without another word, he turned and walked out. The Jedi did not stop him, but they all knew. Anakin Skywalker was slipping from their grasp. The Jedi Temple loomed behind him, its spires piercing the Coruscant skyline like silent sentinels of a crumbling order. Anakin walked through the night, his mind a storm of anger, doubt, and raw, unchecked power. The Council had made their stance clear. They would never trust him, never accept the strength he had been given. The golden Kyber crystal at his belt pulsed with each step, almost as if it, too, could feel his turmoil. It had called him beyond the Jedi, beyond their narrow teachings, and now Anakin stood at the precipice of something greater. And there was only one person left who would embrace it. The Chancellor's office was dimly lit, the vast windows overlooking the endless cityscape. Palpatine sat behind his desk, his hands folded in quiet patience, as if he had been expecting this moment. "Ah, my boy," he greeted, his voice smooth, welcoming. "I take it your conversation with the Council did not go as you had hoped." Anakin clenched his jaw. "They don't understand. They never have." Palpatine leaned forward. "They fear you, Anakin. Fear breeds weakness. But you were meant to be more." Anakin's fists tightened at his sides. "They think I'm dangerous," Palpatine smiled. "Because you are." Anakin exhaled sharply. The words should have unsettled him. The Jedi would have seen it as a warning. But standing here, bathed in the Chancellor's unwavering confidence, it felt like truth. "The war is nearly over," Palpatine continued. "Soon I will call upon you to act, and when you do, the Jedi will move against me." Anakin hesitated. "They wouldn't." Palpatine's expression darkened, his voice lowering. "Are you so sure? The Jedi have already dismissed you. Their fear will drive them to betray me, and in doing so they will betray the Republic itself." Anakin shook his head. "Obi-Wan would never—" "Obi-Wan has already chosen his side," Palpatine interrupted. "The moment he stood with the Council against you, he became your enemy. When the time comes, Anakin, you must choose." The words echoed in Anakin's mind. "You will have to choose." He turned away, his heart pounding in his chest. He thought of Padmé, of the vision of her lifeless body. He thought of the holocron, of the power it had revealed to him. He thought of the Jedi turning their backs on him the moment he questioned their ways. And then, slowly, he turned back to Palpatine. His voice was steady. "What would you have me do?" Palpatine's smile was cold. "The Jedi will come for me. When they do, we will strike first." Anakin felt the weight of his destiny pressing upon him. The golden Kyber at his side, so different from any Jedi or Sith before him, pulsed. One final time, not as a warning, as an answer. And Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, chose his path. That night, the fate of the galaxy was sealed. The golden blade would burn in the halls of the Jedi Temple, and the name Anakin Skywalker would be lost to the stars. Only Darth Vader would remain.